One of my earliest memories of Showgirls is probably the least Showgirls way anyone could experience it. Growing up, I remember catching it on cable television every so often, never realizing I was watching an edited version that had been cut, cropped, and sanitized into something that barely resembled the movie audiences originally saw. At that age, none of that even crossed my mind. It was just this glossy Las Vegas drama that seemed to appear whenever I was flipping channels, and somehow everybody already knew what Showgirls was. The strange part is that I knew the title long before I understood why it mattered. Even as a kid, the movie had this larger-than-life reputation that stretched far beyond the film itself. It was referenced in sitcoms, award shows, late-night monologues, magazine articles, and entertainment specials. Showgirls wasn't just another movie people talked about. It had become shorthand for an entire cultural moment. Everybody seemed to have an opinion on it, whether they'd seen it or not. Years passed before I finally watched the movie the way it was originally intended, and that experience was nothing like I expected. Instead of finding the cinematic train wreck pop culture had promised me, I found something much more strange, more ambitious, and infinitely more entertaining. Somewhere between the impossibly dramatic performances, the dazzling stage productions, and a story that refuses to settle for subtlety even once, I stopped wondering why the movie had become infamous and started wondering why so many people overlook what makes it fascinating. Watching Showgirls today feels completely different than what it must have been like in 1995, because the expectations surrounding it have disappeared. Back then, audiences were waiting for the next prestige hit from Paul Verhoeven and Joe Esterhazy. Instead, they got a film operating at an emotional volume somewhere between Broadway, melodrama, and fever dream. Every argument becomes an explosion. Every betrayal lands like the end of the world. Every victory lasts just long enough for somebody to throw a drink across the room. Nobody whispers Showgirls. That's exactly why it works for me. Once I stopped asking the movie to behave like a conventional drama, everything clicked into place. This version of Las Vegas doesn't exist to mirror reality. It's a city built from fantasy, ambition, ego, and excess, where every emotion gets amplified beneath neon lights and every decision feels like it's being made in front of an invisible audience. The movie commits to that heightened reality with such ambitious confidence that eventually you either reject it or happily surrender to its rhythm. Elizabeth Berkley's performance deserves far more credit than it traditionally received. Looking back through the lens of the film's heightened world, Nomi Malone isn't supposed to feel restrained or quietly calculating. She's impulsive, she's emotionally explosive, deeply vulnerable, fiercely determined, and constantly reacting before she had time to think. Happiness becomes exhilaration. Anger erupts without warning. Every setback feels catastrophic because, to Nomi, every opportunity might be the last one she'll ever get. That unpredictability makes her strangely compelling to watch. One scene leaves you sympathizing with her determination to escape her past, while the next has you laughing because she chooses violence with the confidence most people reserve for ordering lunch. Somehow the character remains believable inside the universe of the movie that it creates because everyone else is operating on that exact same emotional frequency. Gina Gershon absolutely understands the assignment as Crystal Connors, delivering every line with the effortless confidence of someone who's mastered the roles of this glamorous, ruthless world. Kyle MacLachlan somehow manages to be simultaneously charming and deeply unsettling before he even finishes his first conversation. Nobody feels grounded in realism, because realism isn't what this movie is chasing. Every performance feeds into the same heightened theatrical energy until the entire cast feels perfectly synchronized. Visually, Showgirls still looks incredible. The stage productions alone justify revisiting the film. These aren't brief musical interludes tossed between the story scenes. They're enormous productions packed with elaborate costumes, dramatic lighting, giant props, intricate choreography, waterfalls, smoke, mirrors, and enough spectacle to remind you how extravagant Las Vegas entertainment once was. Every dollar appears on screen. Outside the theater, the city itself becomes part of the performance. Neon reflections spill across casino floors, while enormous hotels tower over every conversation, constantly reminding everyone that success here always fills just one promotion, one audition, or one lucky breakaway. Vegas isn't merely where the story happens. It's the force pulling every character forward whether they're ready or not. Looking beyond all the spectacle, the movie becomes surprisingly sharp about ambition and the cost of constantly chasing more. Nearly every relationship carries an invisible transaction beneath the surface. Friendships come with expectations. Romance feels negotiable. Loyalty lasts only until the next opportunity arrives. Success always belongs to somebody else until suddenly it belongs to you, and even then somebody younger is already waiting backstage. None of that means the movie escapes criticism. Some dialogue sounds hilariously unnatural, Certain emotion turns happen so quickly they practically leave skid marks. A handful of scenes have earned their legendary status for reasons the internet has immortalized, and no amount of re-evaluation is going to convince me that every creative decision lands exactly as intended. Yet that's also where Showgirls separates itself from so many forgotten studio films of the era. Hollywood has produced countless technically competent dramas that disappeared from public memory almost immediately. Showgirls refused to become invisible. Audiences argued about it. Critics dismantled it. Fans defended it. Entire generations discovered it through cable television, home video, and word of mouth, long after theaters had moved on. Very few movies get a second chance, let alone spend decades slowly transforming from cultural punchline into beloved cult classic. Rewatching it now, I almost appreciate its complete lack of self-consciousness more than anything else. The movie never pauses to apologize. Nobody involved seems embarrassed by how big every emotion becomes, or how extravagant every scene feels. It commits with absolute sincerity. And that confidence gives Showgirls an energy that's become increasingly rare. Maybe that's why I've stopped thinking about it as a guilty pleasure. Calling something a guilty pleasure suggests that there's something wrong with enjoying it. And I don't feel that way anymore. Movies don't have to be flawless to deserve revisiting. Some become classics because everything works exactly as intended. Others become classics because they're so singular, so fearless, and so impossible to imitate that they carve out their own place in film history. Showgirls belongs in that second category. Looking back, I almost laugh thinking about that kid watching that heavily edited TV version without the slightest clue why this movie carried so much cultural baggage. All I saw was bright lights, giant stage shows, and a Las Vegas drama that felt unlike anything else on television. Revisiting it as an adult finally connected all the missing pieces. I understand the backlash now. I understand why audiences rejected it. More importantly, I understand why so many people have come back around to it over the years. I'd love to hear where all of you landed with Showgirls. Did you experience it during all the controversy in the mid-90s? Were you like me and first discovered it through those heavily edited cable broadcasts? Or did you only find it years later after hearing about its infamous reputation? Let me know in the comments, because if there's one thing Showgirls has never inspired, it's quiet opinion. Alright, I'll catch you in the next one.